Hey there, thanks for clicking on this video. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the G&G GT1 Micro T1 replica reflex sight. First and foremost, I've had this sight for about 5, maybe 6 days now, and I've been able to feel it one time so far, so I'm not just talking out of my ass. I didn't just get it in the mail yesterday. I've actually gone out and I've actually tried it. Granted, it was only once, but better than a lot of reviewers that I see, I would like to think, so take that as you will. So real quick, let's take a look at what's inside the package. So, inside, first and foremost, you've got an instruction booklet. It's always good to have. You know how to operate your damn product. And of course, next you've got the full metal reflex sight itself, with an included rubber lens protector right here. Can't see through it, of course. It's just to protect the lens when you're storing it. Next, we have a low-profile optic mount. It comes with two mounts. It comes with the high-profile one that comes pre-installed, and the low-profile one here. Comes with a microfiber cloth. Always good to have. This is for cleaning the lenses, obviously. It comes with a small Allen key inside a baggie. I still don't know the purpose of it, but it's there. And last but not least, it comes with this delicious little baggie of clear hard candy. Now to the scope itself. So for starters, this is a non-magnified reflex style optic. I almost forgot to mention it does come with a battery. Speaking of the battery, you insert the battery into the on-off brightness color switch dial, which is right here. This rotates. You insert it right here. You take either a coin or a flat hat screwdriver and you carefully unscrew this off, insert the battery, screw this cap back on. I'm not going to do it now because it's already inside and it's pretty self-explanatory how to do it. As I mentioned before, it comes with two different ways to mount it to your gun. It comes with this pre-attached high-profile mount and this low-profile mount that you can attach should you choose to do so. You can change out which mount you use by unscrewing the 4 screws on the bottom of the optic. So you simply flip it upside down like this, and there's going to be 4 screws in there. Now, with the high-profile mount, if I flip this towards you, there's these two about finger-sized holes. There's going to be 2 screws inside of each one. Now, bear in mind, the screws that mounted the optic to the mount itself, those suckers were in there pretty good. It took a lot of oomph to get them out of there, so be warned about that in advance. And, of course, as you could see, I decided to go with the high-profile mount as opposed to the low-profile mount because I have a mesh mask to protect my face and my mouth and all that. And when you get down on your scope, that mesh mask kind of likes to get in the way and put a big space between you and the gun. So it's kind of harder to look through reflex sights that are lower profile with a mask like that. This solves that problem perfectly. Now, the optic has 2 color modes and 5 brightness settings for each, so I'll show them to you now. I'm not sure how well it's going to translate over to a camera, but nonetheless, I'll show it to you. So we'll take that rubber cover off, and first and foremost, let's see here. Oops. Okay, so first and foremost, here is, let me see if I can do it over here. Okay, so here is the red dot on the first brightness setting. Here is the red dot on the 5 brightness setting, which is the max. The green color on brightness 1. Now, I'm a glasses wearer, and I couldn't see any distortion looking through the lens. It's worth mentioning that there's a very slight tint. It's not extreme at all, almost hardly noticeable, but for indoor play in like darker environments, you might notice it a bit more there. Where I was playing, it was outdoor, the sun was shining, so take that as you will. It's worth mentioning. Now, there are elevation and windage dials on the left and top sides of the optic, respectively. These are separate, of course. Elevation and windage do a different thing. To access these, you first remove the black protective cap just using your fingers. There you go. And then you're just going to want to take a coin, and you'll notice that there is a little notch in there So you're just going to take a coin, and you're just going to start dialing to whichever value you prefer. And as you're doing that, obviously it's going to be moving the dot around in your scope. And you just want to point that dot wherever your BBs are going. The optic attaches to your gun via this quick detach lever right here. Get on there. Here we go. Attaches via that quick detach lever. This was a major factor in me wanting to purchase this optic. My previous reflex sight, the mounting system was all kinds of whack. It had like 5 different pieces to it that could all come off if you decided to go that route. You could lose all 5 pieces and it took forever to install. This is just, it's like at least like 2 pieces. It's the mount that's attached to the optic, and then it's the other part of the rail right there and the lever, and that's it. All you do is, that's the open position, you set it on your gun, and you close it just like that. I'm going to demonstrate that for you now. So this is my G&G CM16 SRXO. Safety's on, and there's no battery in it, just for the record. So, whoops, dust cover flew open. Okay, so the way you attach the optic is you just flip the lever to the open position, stick it onto your rail, give it a little bit of a jiggle forward and back to make sure it's locked into your rail properly, and then you just simply close that latch, and it's on there pretty sturdy. In fact, it's on there sturdy enough where, let me take the magazine out so that doesn't rattle, I'm just holding this gun from the optic. Now, it's lighter than a lot of guns, I've heard that from a lot of people, so bear that in mind. This is, the lower and upper are made out of polymer, and the handguard is metal. But, anyways, when I wiggle this thing around, there's no rattling noise. So I think that's kind of commendable, especially considering it's a quick detach system. Now, as much praise as I do give the quick detach lever system, it did have one major flaw during the field day where I tested it out on it, and I'm going to talk about that right now. So you'll notice that at the moment, the quick detach lever is on the right side of my gun. It doesn't come stock that way. Out of the box, it actually comes on the left side. And that caused a major problem. So when it comes attached on the left side, the lever, when in the closed position, faces the rear of the weapon, right? So if I wanted to, I would just be able to flick it like that, and it would detach. Let me tell you why that's a problem. So when I run my rifle, I usually run it with a single point sling around my shoulder, having it attached to this loop right here. I like to run it on a single point sling because at my local field, this rifle has a 20-foot minimum engagement distance, and so I need to carry a pistol with me for engagements closer than 20 feet. So, let me paint this scenario for you. I'm approaching a wooden pallet building, a very small one, with a teammate of mine. We don't know if there's anybody inside of it. So we're approaching it like this, and I need to switch to my pistol to go inside and check it out. So what I do is, I drape my rifle down over my side and use my hand to cover the barrel, like this, so that it doesn't move. I reach and draw to my pistol to go in to clear the building. Go in, clear it, nobody in there. I reholster, and bearing in mind that the lever was facing the rear of the weapon, and to open it, you flip it this way. I switch to my rifle, and I try to bring it up to a low ready position. Admittedly, it was a kind of a lazy low ready position, but I go like this, and then I'm holding the rifle pretty much like this. Problem is, when I went like this, my chest rig seemed to grab onto the lever like this and go like that with it. Wow, even when it's disconnected, it's kind of still on there, isn't it? There we go. So, optic obviously falls off, and I'm there without an optic. So, fortunately, I only walked like maybe 50 feet until I realized I got the sudden impulse to bring my rifle up to check on my optic and see how it was doing, but turns out there's not an optic there. So, again, fortunately, I had walked like maybe 50 feet, so it took me the better part of 20 seconds to go back and find it sitting in the grass. But at the end of the day, the optic took a tumble, fell into grass, at about from like 4 feet maybe. Fortunately, it came out completely unscathed. You saw the lens wasn't cracked. Hell, it was even still on for that matter. So that kind of lends to its durability, but honestly, I was just kind of pissed off that it happened in the first place. Like, if something that simple could knock the optic off your gun, if that were onto concrete and it would have broken the lens, or even if it would have fallen off 10 minutes prior without me realizing it, I would have been out $60 just like that. That's like, need I say more? Now, I did solve that problem, fortunately, because as you saw, that quick detach lever is on the right side of the optic. I was telling you what my experience was like with it on the left side of the optic. Now, I'm about to blow your mind here, okay? This is some top-notch stuff. So, all I did was, I flipped the optic upside down, and remember how I said earlier in these 2 finger-sized holes, there's 2 screws in each of those, and those screws, they attach the optic to the mount itself. So all I did was, took a screwdriver, unscrewed all 4 of those screws, and I took the optic mount, and I flipped it around. It's as simple as that. And now, lever's on the right side. There you go. Now I'm a righty, so I don't exactly plan on getting any bits of gear underneath that lever. Now, of course, it is still possible to get something underneath that, so at the end of the day I need to remind myself that if I want a quick detach optic with a lever such as this, the compromise I need to make is that there's a chance that the optic's going to come off. But with that solution that I just whipped up myself, simplest thing on the planet, significantly reduced the risk of that happening. Overall, the G&G GT1, it's a pretty good reflex sight, especially for $60. The choice between the high and low profile mounting options coming right out of the box is definitely considerate. The dot is very round and crisp and not sloppy. The full metal construction makes it sturdy, and the mounting system itself also quite sturdy. So to quickly recap, it's full metal, it's highly durable, it includes both high and low profile mounts. The dot is crisp and clean. There's 2 color options for the dot, red and green. 5 brightness settings for each. When I got it, it was actually already sighted pretty well onto my gun. And of course, I think it looks amazing on this G&G CM16 SRXL. And again, the only real con that I had was that problem that I talked pretty in depth about, where gear got caught underneath that lever and it came popping right off. I think, considering how it comes out of the box pointing directly towards you, for right-handed shooters, that's kind of a big oversight, I think. Nonetheless, it was a simple fix, but it's definitely something very important to keep note of. Don't lose your brand new scope if you buy this thing. Also, for those wondering, some details about my gun. All the internals are stock, because I suck. The suppressor up front is an ASG TAC QD mock suppressor. Found it on e-bike. It's $20. I do not have a barrel extension inside. I really literally just bought it to make it look pretty nice. The suppressor cover around it is also found on e-bike. It is the Emerson Gear Cordura 18 centimeter Airsoft suppressor cover. This is not for real guns, by the way. This is for Airsoft only. This thing will catch on fire if you heat up a real steel suppressor. The magazines that I have are the evike.com BAMF mags. These are 190 round mid caps. They're $10 each. They feed reliably. In my gun, they have a very slight wobble. And finally, the Foregrip is an NC Star Key Mod vertical foregrip, also found on e-bike. I get all my stuff from e-bike. I'm a nerd. Anyways, all the links to this stuff, including the scope itself, will be in the description below. Thanks for watching the video. Hope I was able to give you a lot of information about the scope and hopefully maybe influence your purchase, tell you whether or not it's a good idea. Definitely bear in mind that warning about that lever. You gotta be really careful about that. If you buy this optic, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Don't lose your $60 optic. Take the extra time. Look into those holes. unscrew the screws, flip the mount around, reattach it, man. As long as you're a right-handed shooter, you gotta do that with this optic. That's the one thing that I can't recommend enough, especially if you're running a sling. You do not want to get that lever caught underneath your gear and have it flop over and lose that optic. It's a lot of money, 60 bucks. Anyways, regardless, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys around. Have a good one.